Alright, let's just get the obvious out of the way, shall we?
Doctor Strange.
That's pretty good. But it's taken!
Oh, Marvel, you could have tied Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man into the MCU. Okay, I've had my laugh. Let's get to it, shall we? Hey guys, I'm Joe, and today I'm here to talk about Doctor Strange. Now, I apologize for not getting any reviews out in the last week or so. Work has been pretty time-consuming, and I haven't really had the time to film a review, obviously, because I'm in a different location where I have to go for certain purposes. I don't want to be too specific or anything. But I've had some time to develop my thoughts on Doctor Strange, and let's get to it. Doctor Strange is Marvel's latest addition into the MCU about a man named Stephen Strange who is a doctor, a very arrogant doctor, and who's basically like the Dr. House and Tony Stark combined into one for the MCU. And then an accident happens where he loses the use of his hands. That's gotta suck. He tries everything, from Western medicine, all across the board, nothing works, and therefore he turns to Eastern medicine, and he stumbles upon a monastery with the help of Mordo, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, and he meets the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton, who teaches him all kinds of ways to heal himself, through magic, sorcery, and all different kinds of dimensions that he never even knew about. And all the while, he learns about this mystical war going on between the Ancient One and a certain entity, which I'm not going to divulge here in case you don't know. And amidst all this chaos, he's trying to find his place, trying to better himself, but also learn everything he can to better himself in the process. Now, as far as my history with Doctor Strange, I never read a single Doctor Strange comic, but I do remember seeing him from the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. There's an episode where Doctor Strange shows up when Spider-Man's trying to find Mary Jane. She gets kidnapped by this secret cult that Doctor Strange is tracking, and of course the reference in Spider-Man 2, which I showed you earlier, but that's really it. I don't know anything about this character outside of this movie and from what I've seen of him in the past. Of course, it's the MCU. How am I not going to see this? I'll see anything that this franchise puts out. Well, most of it, anyway. That's another story. And seeing the first teaser trailer a couple months ago, it actually took me a couple of viewings to really get into it because it looked very, very different. And this isn't exactly like really out there like, say, Guardians of the Galaxy or maybe Ant-Man, but it's definitely very odd and very unique in a lot of ways because it's never been shown to the mainstream public before, and it deals with all kinds of stuff like sorcery, alternate dimensions, and whatnot. And I have to say, Marvel has done it again. I really, really enjoyed Doctor Strange. Benedict Cumberbatch, I think, is a really great actor. Personally, I haven't seen too many of his movies. Of course, I know him from Star Trek Into Darkness, but now I don't even think of him as Khan anymore. I see him now as Doctor Strange. He's got that perfect combination of arrogance and brilliance and wit all combined into one. And as I said, he's like a combination of Tony Stark and Dr. Gregory House into one, or like Sherlock Holmes. And it's not exactly an easy role to play, where he's a jackass, but yet still likable at the same time. And Cumberbatch, I thought, really nails it. And he has the look down perfectly by a certain point when he gets the costume on. And I like seeing his arc all throughout the movie, learning his ways with sorcery and wanting to know more about this world that he's being introduced to. And the other actors do a very fine job as well, like Rachel McAdams. Doesn't have a whole lot of time, but basically Benedict Cumberbatch is like the main attraction here, so it's not really the movie's fault. The other actors like Chiwetel Ejiofor and Tilda Swinton, they're all great too. Tilda Swinton, there was a lot of controversy surrounding the casting because of the whitewashing thing. Yeah, it would have been nice to have a Tibetan actor or an Asian actor play this character, but I read a quote from the writer or the producer, whatever, saying it was like the Kobayashi Maru, the unwinnable situation, because they didn't want to perpetuate a stereotype, that they didn't want to do this, and they knew that they were going to get hate for it anyway regardless. That's just the way it works. But I honestly didn't really care that much when she was announced to play the Ancient One, because I don't know the comics very well, and I thought she did a pretty good job, and she's very, very versatile from what I've seen. White Witch in Chronicles of Narnia, to Amy Schumer's boss in Trainwreck, and a Coen Brothers movie, what was the movie called? I don't know. Chiwetel Ejiofor is also really good as Mordo, and the way he experiences certain things happen, I like how they hint at where his character's going to go in the sequels, if they're going to come out, which I'm pretty sure they will. And there's also this one guy named Wong, played by Benedict Wong. He was a really cool character as well, and added some really, really good humor in this one. Speaking of which, this movie utilizes it very well. Not just the witty humor from Benedict Cumberbatch, but certain things with his cape. I mean, the whole theater was going berserk. It was so great. And the visual effects, you've heard it before, it's being compared to Inception, obviously. There are those things there, and I definitely got those vibes. But they really, really go all the way with this one. With different, like, conveyor belt-like images from the city going up and over, down into this pit, and the visual effects in this movie with the different images and whatnot. Talk about trippy. I think I turned to my mom and said, "Mom, is that what drugs are like?" Not that she would know. She's never done drugs, but... If you were worried about the way the color palette would look in this one from the posters, don't worry. This movie is very colorfully rich. And there's some really creepy imagery in here as well. And this movie's made by Scott Derrickson. He's known for his horror movies in the past. He definitely plays on those things in this one, because there's a couple of times where I went, ugh, eek. Of course, not too scary because it's technically for families. So... whatever. And of course the action I think is really well done too. At certain points with the climax of the movie, although maybe it's a little too quick cut. I don't want to keep making the same criticisms like I did with Civil War, but I just think that's one thing they could have fixed just a little bit more. As far as the problems go, look, people have complained about the villains in many of the Marvel movies, so I'm not even going to bother going into it. Mads Mikkelsen was fine, but yeah, whatever. But probably the biggest problems I had was that there's some passages in time that aren't exactly clear. You don't know how long exactly he's done this training with the Ancient One. Comparisons of Batman Begins are obviously gonna come in, but we know how much time has passed when Bruce Wayne trains with Henry Descartes in the Tibetan monastery. Here, they don't exactly allude to how much time has gone by. Maybe a year, but it's not really clear. And the first act is a little rocky. The first 15 minutes or so takes a little while to get moving, but once Steven gets into that accident, that's when I thought the movie started to pick up. Since I mentioned the action earlier, the final climax thankfully does not go the way of a beam in the sky type of climax like in Transformers or some of the big action fests that we've seen in the previous Marvel movies some of the time. And I think Marvel's catching on to that. Ant-Man didn't really go to a citywide destruction. Civil War obviously didn't do that, and neither did this one. And I think I read a quote from Kevin Feige saying that we realize that it's going to get old after a while, so we have to change it up a little bit. And if that's the case, thank God that they're learning from their mistakes. Wouldn't say it's my favorite of the MCU. I think this is definitely one of the better ones, if not one of the best. And I don't want to talk about like comparisons with comic book movies in 2016, but this and Civil War, I have to say, two of the best out of all the ones that came out this year. And I don't want to sound like I'm sucking up to Marvel, because I'm really not. I may seem like that to some of you guys, but I'm a fan of Marvel. If I don't like a Marvel movie, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you. But this year, I feel like they've really nailed it. Once again, not much else I can say. I'm looking forward to wherever else they take Doctor Strange in the future. Well done, Marvel. So guys, thank you for watching. Did you like Doctor Strange? Like it, hate it, you thought it was alright? Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.